Hello, this is Mad Cat, the angry egalitarian that discusses this and that. Today is another edition of Mad Cat Smash Feminist. I don't know if I'm going to be doing that every time. So, if you're a regular viewer and you missed the beginning of my last show, I've decided to change the name um, based on the previous last week when the nickname came out in chat, Mad Cat Smash, because of my Hulk-esque Hulk-esqueness. Sorry, I was dealing with a major computer problem. That's why there was a delay, and I'm kind of like flustered right now. But I'll get my bearings back. But anyways, yeah, my computer is really bad. If it was a horse, I'd take it out back and shoot it. It really needs to become glue at this point. Anywho, so I'm doing. It's still the same exact show. Stupid things feminists say. I don't know. I think the title. I love it. So and Polar Bear 21, me like title. Yes, you have the Hulk in you. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. By the way, I wasn't able to share this on Twitter, so if someone could do that for me, I'd greatly appreciate it. Again, my computer's being stupid right now. But not so much as a feminist stupid, just smart stupid. Start screen share. Op-ed to address gender pay equality begin with social conditioning. And this was in the Salt Lake Tribune, as in Salt Lake City. Hey, it's 47 degrees in Salt Lake City right now. Oh, you should come down to Arizona. It's still like 90 degrees outside. Why do women make less money than men? Choices they make. Probably can't read that very well. Oh, good. So it still showed up on Twitter. That's good. All right. Why do women make less money than men? Well, oftentimes it's because of the choices they make in career, fact that they don't negotiate, the fact that they don't advance very far because they try to balance having children and working full time, or will take time off to raise their children for several years before coming back to work. A lot of variety of reasons, all of them legitimate reasons. According to the United States Department of Labor earning by sex statistic, the median average earning of men averaged about $50K per year, while women only made about $39K per year. So what? The wage gap seems obvious. No, it doesn't. You can't determine a wage gap between that. Especially with some of the statistics that you use in this study. The next paragraph, the U.S. Department of Labor statistics showed that the majority of employed women are in secretarial and teaching and nursing positions. Oh, you mean jobs where they make less money? Nearly 70% of men over the age of 16 are in the workforce, often because they're required to be, and only 57% of women are. In fact, if with 70% men and 57% women, if they were making the same exact money just by pulling all the men and all the women, I would be worried. I'd be really worried if that were the case. So, but even then, you have to compare the jobs themselves, not the overall working field. Yes, a doctor might make more money than a nurse. But how does a doctor compare to other doctors? based on their experience, based on their education. Like in broadcast network, at least the computer won't go blaming patriarchy when it fucks up. Well, I blame patriarchy for you fucking up. I mean, can't we spell the word blaming? I kid. But to say that women get paid less for doing the same job is a misconception. Okay, maybe this article might understand. It's not that women are paid less for the same job. That's a misconception. I agree with that. It's the fact that lower number of women are working and they tend to pursue jobs less often and choose jobs of lower caliber than men. Hallelujah! Hallelujah! You fucking finally agree with me. Hallelujah! This is the exact problem. If women want better paying jobs, then get an education that that will lead you to a better paying job. But I don't think that's what this article is really going to go with. In her September 2014 United Nations speech of feminism, actress Emma Watson said she belonged to a group of women dismissed as too argumentative and too bossy. Women, as Watson explains, are often socially conditioned to believe and think like a girl. In order to understand what this stereotype is, I walked around the University of Utah campus and asked everyone I encountered what they thought of when I said, behave like a girl. The most common responses were respectful, submissive, and modest. The ideal girl shouldn't try to take control of the situation. They should let other people, men, be in charge. I love how you put that. They should let other people, men, be in charge. I put my hand over my mouth like I'm saying a secret. Yeah, and did you also go around and ask people what behave like a boy means? Because I'm willing to bet you would have gotten the same responses, especially by men. I'm sure girls would have been like, oh, well, you know, that just means to be as blah, 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 blah. Especially if you go to a university, of course you're going to get answers like that. You're surrounded by fucking feminists. Oh my God, I got the exact thing I needed by going to the place where they would. You fucking moron. Polar Bear 21, feminist math. One person equals every person. Very true. Lycan, I did spell it. I was thinking three different things when I was typing. Polar Bear, feminists figured out what Warren Farrell said 10 years ago. Way to keep current. Exactly. Lycan Broadcasting, man on street interview. That's a great way to get factual information. Sarcasm. Was this a man who did this? I think it was a woman. Kara McDonald. So yeah, a woman on street. Wait, woman on street sounds like she's a prostitute. Well, she is trying to get her opinion told by any means necessary. Yeah, she's a prostitute doing interviews. So no surprise there that you got exactly what you wanted by going to a feminist-run university that will tell you exactly what you want to hear, because you did that on purpose. When a young girl wants to play football or finds herself ostracized, or a boy wants to play with Barbie dolls and is targeted for abuse by his peers, we can see the beginning of gender norms socially conditioning our nation's children. Okay, so I do see this point being made. You know, if a girl wants to go play football, let her go play football. You know, if a guy wants to dance and his friends want to play football, he can dance if he want to. He can leave his friends behind. See if any of you get that reference. But, yeah, if I played with Barbie dolls growing up. I mean, G.I. Joe needed to get some action, right? And as a boy, I would always undress Barbie and like, oh yeah, baby, my dick is so big. Yeah, I'm kind of weird like that. But, and it really wasn't a big deal until I got older. And yeah, you kind of had to put those things away. But then as you get older, you don't want to play with those things anyways. And there's always, and in schools, there is this kind of like you're trying to do just enough not to get noticed for any weird thing that you like, or else you're going to be socially ostracized. But men and women do this, boys and girls do this, especially girls. They are the worst at it because they do it for boys and girls. Boys just do it to each other. So I know where this article is going to go. It's going to try to say that it's a patriarchy trying to enforce these gender norms. But no, it's not the patriarchy. Even if the patriarchy did exist, it isn't the patriarchy. Actually, I know exactly where this is going. It's going to say that parents are the problem. And it's not even parents either. Children would naturally do this if parents didn't intervene. And in some cases, I've seen this happen where parents had no involvement in their children's lives, and children still exhibit this behavior. In fact, it was worse when parents didn't have any intervention at all. Like in Broadcasting Network, you didn't just safety dance us, bastard. It was actually a quote from Scrubs, that specific conversation. Um, but yeah, I safety danced y'all. Why not safety sex? You just need some naked gun condom first. Okay, I don't understand that one, Sarah film. Okay. When a girl wants to play football, yeah, we already read that. This I believe is why women are more likely to strive to be nurses than doctors or assistants and receptionists rather than executives. These gendered norms also explain why women tend to take homemaking jobs more often than men do. So you're saying that people don't have a choice, that they are conditioned from a very young age on what career they're going to do, and we cannot in any way change that. So the fact that I went into computers and I became an expert in computers, that was predetermined, because I got news for you. It wasn't. My parents tried to keep me away from computers because they always thought I broke computers. It just so happened our computers sucked because it was the 1980s, but they did everything they could to keep me away from computers, and I still went into the computer field. I'm now a writer, a disabled writer, but I'm a writer. And my family kept telling me that I sucked at writing, that I was a horrible writer, and I would never make it. And guess what? Guess what I'm doing? I'm doing the things I was told that I couldn't do. And fairly well, I might add. So don't begin to tell me that, oh, well, people are socially conditioned to do the kind of jobs they're supposed to. Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you sideways. No, wait, I don't want to do that to my dick. Don't fuck crazy. Seriously. This is the problem with the world. It's not that women are choosing these kinds of jobs, because kudos for them, because we need teachers and nurses, and maybe they should be paid more money. I'm all for that. But the problem in the world is cunts like you that are trying to tell everyone that they're not responsible for their choices and everyone else is to blame, especially men. You are a fucking moron who should take a gun and shoot herself with it. Stereotypes about men and women should and should not do are deeply rooted in our society, and these assumptions run rampant in an attempt to condition young men and women in America to do what is socially acceptable. As a result, women end up aiming low, and wage gaps between sexes become increasingly prominent. Yeah, I seriously doubt that if you ask these women why they chose a job of nursing, why they chose the job of psychiatrist, why they became a teacher, it's not that they were aiming low, but because they believed they were doing a greater, noble deed. Well, someone said that I could only do this job, so this is the job I chose. Fuck you. How can we fix this result of social conditioning? Well, you don't, because there's not actually a problem. Massive improvements are made towards gender-based norms and stereotypes every day, and the movement is growing. Emma Watson described the current definition of feminism being the advocacy of women's rights on the ground of political, social, and economic equality to men. The definition has evolved from a force for women's rights to a force of complete equality between men and women. No. Watson, Sandberg, and many others strong voices pushing for an end to the workplace. See, you're asking, how do we fix this problem? And you're not giving us anything about to fix the problem. You're saying that people are trying. If you're going to ask a question on how to fix a problem, then you need to give us something about what can be done to fix this problem. Even though it's not an actual problem, it's a perceived problem that you're trying to put into the minds of women to get them to hate men. Oh, well, you're a nurse because some man told you that you had to be a nurse. You should hate all the men in the world because of a decision that you actually made. Because you could have gone into STEM field, but a man kept you from it. Bull fucking shit. And I don't think there were any comments for this one. So let's go ahead. Let me take a look at chat real quick. Everyone's loving the Smash. Oh, that's so great. I'm glad I found my hook. Okay, Polar Bear. So who's socially conditioned feminists to be feminists? I mean, if society is anti-women and anti-feminist, then feminists can't exist, right? Ooh, burn. That is very good. An evildoer shows a picture, well, does the little text. I gotta figure out how, oh, never mind. There's a little smiley face thingy there. I never noticed that because I don't really use the chat. Has a picture of a girl and a gun. That's cute. Well, Polar Bear. Well, I was trying to say is it matriarchy if someone makes fun of a boy who plays with G.I. Joe? And Sarah LaFemme, Mad Cat and the Agents of Smash. All right, so let's go ahead and continue with the next fun article. And, you know, I love my description in the box below. Fresh baked Misandry bread. But this actual title is just not just sourdough, the feminist artisan bakery run by women who are ex-offenders. There we go. All right, so let's take a look at this article. Now, I'm skipping through a lot of this because it's just basically, this is a fluff piece more than anything. So most of this crap here is just useless. The Good Loaf is staffed by female ex-offenders. So it's a bread shop for female convicts. So inside, I'm greeted with a row of cake and loaf upon loaf of bread. Behind the counter, women busy themselves with rakis, coffee machines, and chattering customers. On the surface, it looks no different from any other cafe, and apart from the odd prison tattoo on show, it isn't. It's just a normal place, explains Mike Crisp, the bakery owner operations manager. Often it's only afterwards that people realize they've been served by an ex-prisoner. Lycan, you are clearly a better clickbait writer. Thank you. So Chris, who's been working for nearly 30 years and sees the day-to-day running of the kitchen, the volunteers have to be able to put up with the banter from the baker. It's a real-life working situation, explains Chris. Some of the women have never had men around them that don't want to take something from them. Well, most women in the world want to take something from men. They very rarely want to be around men for anything other than how can they improve their own fucking lives. So, wow. You make it sound like what you're doing is noble. You're taking volunteers to work in a bakery. Huh, that seems like a large profit margin there. It seems like slavery, in all honesty. And maybe I'm wrong on this, but the way this is written, you got volunteers in a bakery and you're making money. Am I the only one who sees a problem with this? Since opening last July, the Good Loaf has helped improve the lives of local women who have either been in prison, on probation, or long-term unemployment. In helping women who have come into contact with the criminal justice system, it has not only increased the employability of female offenders, but helped break cycles of offending and remove the stigma of the ex-offenders face. You mean the same one that men face and in greater numbers? So I don't care about these personal stories. Well, okay, but here's an interesting one, and I want you to remember this. Julie, 44, has been involved since January, charged for assaulting a police officer. Julie was put on probation for 12 months instead of receiving a prison sentence. It was a stupid, drunken mistake, and I haven't drank anything since. I just want, and I'm going to address this in a moment, but I want you to keep this in your mind. She assaulted a police officer and got 12 months probation instead of a prison sentence. It's going to come important in just a moment. Okay, without places like the Good Loaf, the business would continue to cast off applications with criminal records in the discarded pile. After all, the employment prospects for women leaving prison are gloomy. A mere 8% of women are likely to have a positive employment outcomes when released, compared with 20% men. Now, this links to an interesting article. Why focus on reducing women's imprisonment? This is what it linked to. And let's read a couple of these. Women offenders are a minority group within the criminal justice system, accounting for 15% of the current probation caseloads and 5% of the prison population. We recognize that women offenders differ significantly from male counterparts, and they often exhibit more complex needs. For the last 2 years, the female prison population has consistently been under 4,000 for the first time in a decade. I want to see still fewer women in custody, especially those who are primary caregivers of children. I mean, this all sounds all well and nice until you realize you're basically saying you don't want women to be in prison. Even if they break a crime, but they happen to be a mother, we don't want to see them in prison. And you can see the names from here. I'm not making this shit up. The number of women offenders is relatively small, but the impact is not. And it's obvious that within the criminal justice system, we cannot simply replicate what we provide for men and hope it'll work for women. Now, they talk about the women's prison population. In 1995, it was like less than 2,000, and in 2010, it was over 4,200. But up to 2015, it has dropped to under 4,000. Now, across the UK, more than 13,000 women are imprisoned each year. Well, here's a fun thought. Maybe if you actually convicted women of crimes, there would be more in jail. You gave 12 months probation to a woman who assaulted a police officer? If a man did that, he'd probably be facing 5 to 10 years in prison just for assaulting a police officer. But if it's a woman, we give her a lesser sentence. In fact, this entire document here is on the idea that women shouldn't go to jail at all, except for the really bad offenders. Now you see why I did this article on the bakery. Let us continue. Blah, blah, blah. Don't give a shit. It's worth noting that 80% of women who enter prison under sentences have committed non-violent offenses. In other words, the majority of female offenders serve short sentences for low-level petty crimes like shoplifting. But these short sentences are not to be underestimated. Not only does prison disrupt maternal bonds, 2/3 of female prisoners have children under 5. Irreparably, it also leaves women with the practical problem and social stigma of a criminal record. The majority of them face for minor crimes. Well, let's take a look at men. Now, this is a United States one, but I think it's still very fitting given that United States has the highest prison population in the world. And we see a graph here of the people being charged for what crime. E has over 93,000. What is E? Drug offenses. So if people caught with drugs on them, go to jail. And I consider this a minor offense. I think pot should be legalized. It would free up a lot of people from prison. I mean, I don't particularly do pot. I'm not a very big fan of it, but it's a system. But it's created the system of let's keep putting people in prison for stupid reason. You talk about, a minority of women and how the hardship of being a criminal for something petty. This is very petty right here. Very petty indeed. But you still have a miscellaneous amount of 1,500. 1,500 for probably things like that. But no, when it's women, it's just something simple and unnecessary. But for men, it's all bad. They're animals that should be locked up. I know it's not really saying that, but it's kind of suggesting it. And then how about this fact that the maternal bond is irreparably harmed? Well, let's look at some statistics here. I try to find statistics on how many fathers are in prison. I couldn't really find it, but I did find this. I don't know how well you can see that. Let me see if I can zoom in. All right, so this is from the fatherless generation. 63% of youth suicides are from fatherless homes. 90% of homeless and runaway children are from fatherless homes, 32 times the average. 85% of children who show behavior disorders come from fatherless homes. 80% of rapists with anger problems come from fatherless homes. 71% of high school dropout comes from fatherless homes. Are we noticing a pattern here? You talk about the irreparable harm that women must face. Well, in these situations, women seem to be in a child's life and they're still facing irreparable harm for not having a father in the home. But let's only focus on the women because the women's needs our help. No woman in prison ever. And, here's the kicker. It leaves women with the practical problem of social stigma of a criminal record. But you're saying up here that men only suffer 8%, or women suffer 8% and 27% for men. And that seems like, oh, okay, well, women need more help. But you have to consider, they said 13,500 women are in prison every year. And let's say 10% of those are on probation. That's 1,300 women. Now, in this other graph here in the United States, this is about equivalent to 200,000 men. 10% of that, say, go on probation. I don't know what the actual number is, but that's 20,000. 20,000 compared to 1,300. See, you can do all the math you want. I've passed basic math, and I know when I'm being manipulated. You can say, oh, well, 8% of women only have good jobs, where 27% men have it. So we need to focus our attention on women, except that men still greatly outnumber women. And if you put men and women together and then decided the percentages, I'm willing to bet that women would drop. The percentage of those that are looking for jobs, women would probably drop to about 1%. They would be 1% of the problem of ex-convicts looking for work. Because men do represent a bigger problem in this case. And having a criminal record, whether it was for rape, whether it was for drug charges, is treated the same. And I agree, that is something that needs to be fixed. But not with a manipulation of facts like this. This is just horrible, and you know it is. So, there's no comments on this. So let's take it from the chat before I move on to the next segment. I injected some marijuana earlier today. If you can't do the time, then you shouldn't have done the crime. Polar Bear 21. Evil Dura was the one who said he injected marijuana. Kudos to you, sir. Or ma'am, but probably sir. Polar Bears 21. Side note, never take feminist stats at face value. I want to see the hard numbers first. And that's where I'm at as well. And, it's like the 8% leads to a website that's about women not going to prison. So how well can you really trust that? Women don't deserve the same treatment that men get because women are delicate flowers. Oh, fucking shit. I think there should be more women in prison, in all honesty, especially if a woman who assaults a police officer gets a slap on the wrist. Oh, well, you just get probation. Just don't do anything for 12 months and we won't throw you in jail. Evildoer, or maybe I'm gender fluid. Well, anything's possible. And this is the problem. Why do you think we are starting to see a drop in prison? It's not because culture is changing or women are changing. It's because of our treatment of women. Thank you, feminists. You've now allowed more women who should be in jail out on the streets and telling them they can beat the system because they have a motherfucking vagina. Is this the world you want, feminists? because pretty soon it's going to be full of criminals. Because you don't recognize rape when it's woman on woman. I want you to think about that, feminists. You may one day be raped by a woman and can't say anything because women cannot rape women. Evildoer, you insensitive clod. Thank you. Polar bear, technically, if there are more men affected, then it's a gender men's issue. Technically, yes, but nothing is a gender men's issue. If one woman skins her knee, then it's a gendered issue that we shouldn't have women skinning their knees, even though a lot of men do, and, whatever. But so long as one woman does it, who has to suffer through it, it becomes a gendered issue. Anyways, I'm done with this video segment. I'm going to jump onto the next one. Join me in about 5 minutes where we still have some fun ones to do today. Just a quick shout out to my Patreon. If you like what I'm doing, you want to give me a tip, you want to see me do more of this stuff, go ahead and donate $1. I'm at 298 subscribers. I'm almost to 300. I'm almost at 300, which there are a lot of 300 jokes there. Okay, there's only really the one 300 joke, but anyways, if all of those people gave me $1, I would have enough to get health insurance. I'd have enough to get the medical treatment that I need so I could be a productive member of society again. As much as I love doing this, I'd actually like to get a job and actually be able to function at a job, in all honesty. But I need medical help to do it, and the state really doesn't give a shit about me. However, there is another option. If you don't necessarily want to donate to my Patreon, I do have a new book out. It's about $2.99. If you click the link down below for the free ebook, which I do recommend you checking out. If you want to support me, just click on my name, Christopher D. Vody. You'll find my other book. Purchase my book. It's only $2.99. And it'll actually help me because the more people who buy it, the more people who rate it, the more people who give a review on it, the better I can do with my career. But, I also hope that you actually read the story and you enjoy it. That is the first concern for me. But if you're not comfortable doing Patreon, there is another option you can do. Join me this Sunday, though. I am doing a special show, which is a release party for my new book. I'm hoping to have a number of guests on. I've sent out some invites to previous people who have been on here, a couple of honey badgers. So I think it'll be a really great show. I hope to see all of you there. I'll be up in about 5 minutes with my next show, hopefully if my computer behaves itself. Anyways, this is Mad Cat signing off.